Welcome to the Matchmaker Mentor Podcast with Arlene Washburn, the show where love industry professionals, coaches, and matchmakers come to learn, grow, and elevate their craft. Each episode dives deep into the art and business of matchmaking, featuring expert insights, real-world strategies, and inspiring conversations designed to help you create meaningful connections and lasting success. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting your journey, this is your space to be mentored, motivated, and moved to make a difference in the world of love. Now here's your host, Arlene Washburn.
Welcome back to the Matchmaker Mentor Podcast. Today's episode is a solo conversation, and it's an important one because it speaks directly to what is happening in professional matchmaking right now. Matchmaking is more visible than it has ever been. Fees are higher, clients are more informed, expectations are sharper. Conversations about matchmaking are happening publicly, not quietly behind the scenes. Yet public trust in the industry has not increased at the same pace. That gap matters. Visibility does not create credibility. Alignment does. Credibility is built when what a service claims to be matches what it actually delivers. Right now, that alignment is strained across the industry. The issue is not unreasonable clients, it's not pricing, and it's not even outcomes. The issue is value confusion. When value is vague, pricing feels arbitrary. When pricing feels arbitrary, trust erodes. When trust erodes, credibility weakens for everyone. Client confusion is not the root problem. Unclear value articulation is. Today, we are going to unpack three things: what clients think they're buying, what they're actually paying for, and why failing to define that difference puts professional matchmaking at risk. This is not criticism. This is about a maturity conversation. Most clients enter matchmaking believing they are purchasing an outcome-adjacent service. That belief usually shows up in one of three ways. First, introductions. Clients believe they are paying for access to a pool of people they could not reach on their own. A hidden network, a shortcut to availability. Second, chemistry. They believe the matchmaker has an ability to predict emotional connection, that experience or intuition translates into romantic compatibility. Third, results. Not always marriage, but progress, momentum, a higher likelihood of success than independent dating. These assumptions are understandable. They are also often reinforced unintentionally. When success stories are shared without context, when reassurance replaces scope, and when optimism sounds statistical rather than philosophical, over time, clients stop hearing process and start hearing promise. When clients believe they are buying results, disappointment becomes inevitable. When expectations are outcome-based, every mismatch feels like failure. Clients are not paying for chemistry, they are not paying for guarantees, and they are not paying for love. They are paying for a professional service applied to an emotionally complex goal. Specifically, they are paying for risk mitigation, time leverage, judgment and discernment, process management, professional distance, and boundary enforcement. What follows is a deeper look at the first three. Risk mitigation. Risk mitigation does not mean risk elimination. It means reducing avoidable exposure through professional judgment, reasonable precautions, and defined boundaries. In professional matchmaking, risk mitigation may include steps such as reviewing government-issued identification to confirm an individual appears to be who they represent themselves to be. Imagine you meet someone at a bar. Are you going to ask them for ID? A matchmaker can do that. Conducting basic consistency checks across intake forms, conversations, and shared information. Matchmakers are looking for inconsistencies in what's out on social media or any other platform that they can find. They are searching information about the individual and looking for inconsistencies. That's something very important and very time consuming. Encouraging or requiring initial meetings to occur in public or neutral locations. Typically, matchmakers will set the date, will make reservations, or set up whatever meeting location, typically in a public location that is safe for both parties to meet. And matchmakers will utilize third-party screening tools where appropriate to identify potential red flags related to publicly available criminal records or sex offender registries. These practices are process-based, not outcome-based. They are designed to reduce unknowns, not to certify safety or character or intent or future behavior. Clients are not paying for guarantees or safety. They are paying for a professional who understands where risk exists and takes reasonable steps to avoid ignoring it. Professional language acknowledges limits. Time leverage. Time leverage is one of the most misunderstood aspects of matchmaking value. Clients are not paying to skip effort. They are paying to avoid inefficient effort. Professional matchmaking creates time leverage by filtering out clearly incompatible candidates before introductions occur, managing outreach, coordination, and scheduling that would otherwise drain emotional energy, interrupting unproductive dating cycles driven by trial and error, preventing prolonged engagement with candidates who never had realistic alignment. Time leverage is not speed. Matchmaking does not promise faster love. It promises more intentional use of time. That alone has value even when outcomes remain uncertain. Number 3 is judgment and discernment. Judgment is not intuition alone. Discernment is not guessing. Professional discernment includes translating stated preferences into workable criteria, identifying misalignment between what a client wants and what they consistently choose, declining candidates who meet surface level requirements but fail deeper compatibility standards, helping clients understand trade-offs without steering or predicting outcomes. Clients are not paying for prediction. They are paying for a professional who can narrow chaos. Discernment reduces overwhelm and protects against reactive decision making. Clarifying contrast. These services represent professional effort, not protection. They are structured, repeatable, and applied with judgment. They are not guarantees, certifications, or safety or promises of outcomes. None of these services guarantee outcomes, safety, or success. They represent professional effort applied thoughtfully to an emotionally complex process. Credibility erodes when professionalism is implied instead of demonstrated. It erodes when sales conversations shift based on emotion, when scope is flexible but undocumented, and when reassurance replaces clarity. It erodes when success stories are shared without context, when language changes depending on the client, and when boundaries live in someone's head instead of in a written process. Good intentions do not substitute for systems. Professional services require restraint, consistency, and structure. Without them, even ethical businesses expose themselves to misunderstandings, disputes, and reputational damage. Look, most matchmakers were never taught how to build a business around matchmaking. Many were trained to care deeply about clients, but not how to translate that care into clear scope, defensible pricing, documented processes, and ethical sales conversations. Love Pro Mastermind Academy exists to close that gap. LPMA helps professional matchmakers articulate value without implying outcomes, structure sales conversations that reduce misunderstandings, and define scope, boundaries, and process clearly. Build a business that supports the work instead of draining the person doing it. The focus is not on teaching people how to make matches. The focus is on building a professional, sustainable matchmaking business. To learn more, go to lovepromastermind.com. The Compliance Corner is brought to you by the International Matchmaking Compliance Board. And today's topic, sales conversations, value representation, and misrepresentation risk. Compliance risk rarely begins with a contract. It begins long before that in conversations. Sales conversations shape expectations. What a client believes they are buying is often formed by what is said verbally, not what is written later in an agreement. Even well-intended language can create exposure. When matchmakers imply access, outcomes, or likelihood of success, clients may hear promises that were never intended. When reassurance replaces clear explanation of scope, misunderstanding follows. Misrepresentation does not require intent. It requires misalignment between what was understood and what was delivered. Another risk area appears when sales conversations shift based on emotion. Empathy is appropriate. Emotional persuasion is not. Professional services require structured, repeatable language so every client hears the same explanation of what the service includes, what it does not include, where professional responsibility begins and ends. From a compliance perspective, consistency matters more than charisma. Documentation matters more than reassurance, and clarity matters more than closing. When sales language aligns with written scope, disputes are easier to resolve and credibility is preserved. When it does not, even ethical businesses become vulnerable. Compliance is not about fear, it is about sustainability. Clear language protects clients, structure protects businesses, and alignment protects the industry. Credibility is not claimed, credibility is demonstrated. Now, before we close, take a moment to reflect on these questions. How do I explain my service without referencing outcomes, chemistry, or guarantees? Would two different clients describe my service the same way after a sales conversation? Where does reassurance show up in my language, and does it unintentionally imply results? Is my sales process structured, documented, and repeatable? If a dispute arose, would my spoken sales language support or undermine my contract? Discomfort around these questions is not failure, it is information. Professional matchmaking requires maturity. Clarity protects clients. Structure protects businesses. Credibility grows when professionals slow down and define their work with intention. If you are a professional matchmaker and you want to operate with greater clarity, confidence, and credibility, stay connected to the resources designed for this industry. Explore structured education and business frameworks at lovepromastermind.com. If ethics, standards, and long-term sustainability matter to you, learn more about industry guidance and best practices through the International Matchmaking Compliance Board at imcboard.org. And for ongoing insight into what is actually changing in professional matchmaking, including business, compliance, and market intelligence, join On the Radar, our monthly business intelligence brief for professional matchmakers. Thank you for listening to the Matchmaker Mentor Podcast. I will see you in the next episode.
If today's episode resonated, make sure you're subscribed to the Matchmaker Mentor Podcast on YouTube and Spotify. New episodes are released weekly and are designed to support professional matchmakers who want to operate with clarity, structure, and integrity. You can also join our monthly industry brief On the Radar for ongoing insight into what's changing behind the scenes in professional matchmaking. Until next time, stay grounded in your standards, intentional in your systems, and committed to doing this work at a higher level. I'm Arlene Washburn, and this is the Matchmaker Mentor Podcast.